Billionaire CEO spots his ex-wife in a Rolls-Royce dealership with twins who look just like him. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, and right now, you can save £50 per person. That was the sound coming from Knox Harrington's TikTok as he was also choosing between a Phantom and a Cullinan when he saw her. But the TikTok sound faded into background noise the moment his eyes locked onto the woman standing 30 feet away. Nia Brooks. The woman who had walked out of his life 5 years ago, taking his heart with her. And she wasn't alone. "Mommy, can we get the blue one?" A little boy tugged at her designer dress, pointing at a Rolls-Royce Dawn convertible. "It matches your favorite color." Knox's world tilted on its axis. The boy had his exact same piercing blue eyes, his square jaw, even the way he tilted his head when curious. And beside him stood a little girl with Nia's radiant smile, but Knox's unmistakable cleft chin. "River, we're just looking today, baby," Nia said softly, her voice carrying that same melodic tone that had haunted Knox's dreams for 5 years. "Maybe when you're older, you can have your own car collection like." She stopped mid-sentence, her gaze finally finding Knox across the showroom. The color drained from her face. "Like who, Mommy?" the little girl asked, following her mother's stare. "Who's that man? Why is he looking at us like that?" Knox's legs moved without conscious thought, carrying him across the marble floor of the exclusive dealership. His heart hammered against his ribs as he took in every detail of the children who were unmistakably his. 4 years old, maybe 5, which meant Nia. Her name came out as barely a whisper. "Knox." Her voice was steady, controlled, but he caught the slight tremor in her hands as she moved protectively in front of the children. "What are you doing here? I could ask you the same question." His eyes kept drifting to the twins, drinking in features he recognized from his own childhood photos. "But I think I already know the answer." The little boy stepped forward with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Are you the man from Mommy's phone?" "River, don't." Nia started, but Knox was already kneeling to the boy's eye level. "What phone?" Knox asked gently, his voice thick with emotion. "Mommy has pictures of a man who looks like me and Sage. She looks at them when she thinks we're sleeping and gets sad. Have you ever had your heart shattered and healed in the same moment? Have you ever realized that the life you thought you were living was actually just an empty shell?" This is the story of Knox Harrington, a man who thought he had everything, only to discover he had nothing that mattered. And Nia Brooks, a woman who built an empire while raising the children he never knew existed. But what Knox didn't know was that Nia had tried to tell him about the pregnancy 5 years ago, only to be turned away by his family. Stay with me to discover how pride, prejudice, and misunderstanding can tear apart the greatest love story, and whether some bonds are strong enough to survive anything. If you believe in second chances at love, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. 6 hours earlier, Knox Harrington stood in the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office on the 47th floor of the Harrington Global Enterprises building, staring out at the Manhattan skyline that he owned a significant piece of. At 32, he was worth more money than he could spend in several lifetimes, commanded respect in boardrooms across 6 continents, and had everything a man could want, except the one thing that mattered. "Mr. Harrington?" His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your 2 p.m. appointment is here." Knox didn't turn around. "Cancel it, Beverly. Cancel everything for the rest of the day." "Sir? You have the Tokyo merger meeting at 4 and the charity gala prep at 6. I said cancel everything." His reflection in the window showed a man who looked successful but felt hollow. "I'm taking the afternoon off." Beverly's shocked silence spoke volumes. Knox Harrington never took time off. He lived and breathed Harrington Global, just as his father had, and his grandfather before him. It was the family way, duty above all else, including personal happiness. Knox grabbed his jacket and headed for the elevator, his destination already decided. He needed to buy a car, something ridiculously expensive and completely unnecessary. It was his go-to therapy when the emptiness threatened to swallow him whole. The Rolls-Royce dealership in Midtown was his usual haunt for such purchases. The staff knew him well enough to let him browse in peace while he fought off whatever demons were chasing him that particular day. "Good afternoon, Mr. Harrington." The manager greeted him as he walked in. "The new Cullinan just arrived this morning. Shall I have someone show you the features?" "Just browsing today, Phillips. Don't mind me." Knox wandered through the showroom, his phone buzzing with TikTok notifications he'd been mindlessly scrolling earlier. The Jet 2 holiday ad was still playing on repeat as he moved between the luxury vehicles, each one representing a different form of beautiful distraction. That's when he saw her. 5 years melted away in an instant. Nia Brooks stood near the Dawn convertible, more beautiful than his memory had painted her. She wore a flowing emerald dress that hugged her curves perfectly, her natural hair styled in elegant locks that framed her face. She looked successful, confident, radiant, everything he'd always known she would become. And she was holding the hands of 2 children who looked exactly like him. Present moment. The confrontation, they're yours, aren't they? Knox's voice cracked as he stared at River and Sage. The little girl, Sage, was hiding behind her mother's legs now, her big blue eyes watching him with curiosity and caution. Nia's jaw tightened. We need to leave. Don't. Knox stood slowly, his imposing 6'3" frame making him seem even more overwhelming in the intimate space between the cars. Please, don't run away again. I didn't run away the first time. You chose your family's money over me, remember? The words hit Knox like a physical blow. It wasn't that simple. Wasn't it? Nia's voice remained calm, but fire flickered in her dark eyes. Your grandfather made it very clear that a black woman from the wrong side of Chicago would never be welcome in the Harrington family. And you stood there and let him. River tugged on Knox's expensive suit jacket. Mister, why are you making Mommy upset? She only gets that voice when someone's being mean to us. Knox looked down at his son, and felt his heart crack open. I'm not trying to be mean, buddy. I'm just surprised to see your mommy. We're old friends. Are you? Sage piped up from behind Nia, her voice tiny but fierce. Because Mommy said our daddy was someone who couldn't love us enough to stay. The innocent words were like a knife to Knox's chest. He looked at Nia, seeing the pain she'd tried so hard to hide behind her composed exterior. You told them I didn't want them? I told them the truth. Nia's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she smoothed Sage's hair. That their father had other priorities. I didn't know. Knox's composure finally cracked, his voice echoing through the showroom. Nia, I swear to God, I didn't know you were pregnant. You never told me. Several other customers turned to stare, and Phillips the manager started moving toward them with concern etched on his face. Nia noticed the attention and made a quick decision. River, Sage, go look at the pretty cars over there. Stay where I can see you. The twins reluctantly obeyed, though River kept glancing back at Knox with undisguised fascination. I tried to tell you. Nia's voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for Knox's ears. I came to your office 6 weeks after we broke up. Your grandfather intercepted me in the lobby. Knox's blood ran cold. What did he say? He said you were engaged to Priscilla Worthington, that you'd moved on to someone more suitable. He offered me money to disappear and never contact you again. And you took it. Knox couldn't keep the accusation out of his voice. Nia's eyes flashed with anger. I told him to shove his money where the sun doesn't shine. But I also realized that if you could get engaged 6 weeks after telling me you loved me, then maybe I didn't know you at all. Knox ran his hands through his hair, a gesture Nia recognized from their relationship. He always did that when he was overwhelmed. I was never engaged to Priscilla. That was my grandfather's wishful thinking. Nia, if I had known. What? You would have done your duty? Married the pregnant black girl to avoid scandal. Nia shook her head. That's exactly what I didn't want. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Knox? Because 5 years ago, when your family told you to choose between me and your inheritance, you chose the money. What would be different now? Knox looked across the showroom at River and Sage, who were now peering into the driver's seat of a Phantom, giggling at something they saw. His children. His babies, who didn't even know his name. Everything, he said quietly. Everything would be different. 5 years earlier. The annual Tech Innovation Gala was the kind of event Knox usually endured rather than enjoyed. Stuffy conversations about market projections, networking with people who only saw dollar signs when they looked at him, and the endless parade of debutantes his grandfather insisted on introducing him to. He was nursing his second scotch and contemplating an early exit when she walked into the ballroom. Nia Brooks moved through the crowd like she owned the place, her black cocktail dress elegant but not trying too hard, her natural hair styled in a gorgeous afro that caught the light from the chandeliers. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just authentically, unapologetically herself. Knox found himself mesmerized. "She's the founder of Brooks Digital Solutions," his friend Trevor whispered, following Knox's gaze. "Started her company 3 years ago, and she's already pulling 7 figures in revenue. Word is, she's here looking for investors for her expansion." "Introduce me." Trevor raised an eyebrow. "Since when are you interested in tech startups?" "Since now." Knox made his way across the room, his confidence wavering slightly as he approached Naya. Up close, she was even more stunning. Warm brown eyes that seemed to see right through him, full lips curved in a polite smile, and an aura of intelligence that was more attractive than any physical feature. "Ms. Brooks." Knox extended his hand. "Knox Harrington. I was hoping we could talk about your company." Naya studied him for a moment, her handshake firm and professional. "Let me guess, you're another venture capitalist who thinks he can buy his way into the digital marketing revolution without understanding the first thing about it." Knox laughed, genuinely surprised by her directness. "Actually, I was going to ask if you'd like to get out of here and go somewhere we can have a real conversation. This place is about as inspiring as a tax audit. And you think I should leave a networking event full of potential investors to have drinks with a complete stranger? I think you should leave a room full of people who see you as a business opportunity and have dinner with someone who's interested in getting to know the brilliant woman behind the company." Naya's eyebrow arched. "That's either the smoothest line I've ever heard, or you're actually sincere. Only one way to find out." To Knox's amazement, she said yes. They ended up in a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, the kind of place that served incredible food without caring if its customers were billionaires or college students. Knox had never felt more relaxed in his life. "So tell me about Brooks Digital Solutions," Knox said over their appetizers. "What makes you different from every other marketing firm in New York?" "We actually understand our clients' customers," Naya replied, her eyes lighting up as she talked about her work. "Most marketing firms throw together campaigns based on demographics and hope something sticks. We dig deeper. We understand cultural nuances, community dynamics, the psychological triggers that make people feel connected to a brand. Give me an example." "Last year, we worked with a major athletic wear company that was trying to break into the urban market. Every other firm they'd hired focused on celebrity endorsements and flashy ads. We created a campaign around community basketball courts, not just advertising there, but actually renovating courts in underserved neighborhoods. The community felt seen and valued, not just marketed to." Knox leaned forward, genuinely fascinated. "And the results?" "Sales in those markets increased by 300% in 6 months. But more importantly, the brand became part of the community fabric. That's sustainable growth. That's brilliant." Naya smiled, and Knox felt something shift in his chest. "So what about you, Knox Harrington? What does the heir to a real estate empire do for fun?" "Honestly, I don't remember the last time I had fun." The admission surprised Knox with its honesty. "My life is pretty much wall-to-wall meetings and obligations." "That sounds lonely." "It is." Knox met her eyes across the table. "Until tonight." They talked until the restaurant closed, then walked through the quiet streets of Manhattan until sunrise painted the sky pink and gold. Knox had never felt such an instant connection with anyone. Naya challenged him intellectually, made him laugh, and saw him as more than just his last name and bank account. By the time he dropped her off at her apartment building in Brooklyn, Knox was already planning their second date. "Present day?" "The dealership, Mr. Harrington. Is everything all right?" Phillips approached cautiously, clearly concerned about the tense conversation happening in his showroom. Knox looked at the manager, then at Naya, then at his children who were now trying to figure out how to open the hood of a Wraith. "Actually, Phillips, I think I'd like to test drive the Dawn convertible. The blue one, the blue one the children were looking at." "Of course, sir. I'll get the keys." Knox turned back to Naya. "Have dinner with me tonight. Let me explain what really happened 5 years ago." "Knox, one conversation. That's all I'm asking for. If you never want to see me again after that, I'll respect your wishes." Naya glanced at River and Sage, who were now engaged in an animated discussion about which car was the fastest. "I can't just leave them with a babysitter to have dinner with a stranger. I'm not a stranger. I'm their father." The words felt foreign on Knox's tongue, but also completely right. Bring them. We'll go somewhere kid-friendly. Pizza, maybe? You want to take us for pizza? Nia looked skeptical. The Knox Harrington I knew wouldn't be caught dead in a pizza place. The Knox Harrington you knew was an idiot who prioritized all the wrong things. Knox's voice was quiet but intense. 5 years of regret changes a man, Nia. River came running over, his little face flushed with excitement. Mommy. Mommy. The nice man with the cars said we could sit in the driver's seat. Can we? Please. Knox knelt down to River's level again. What do you say, buddy? Want to pretend to drive a really fast car? Yes. River's enthusiasm was infectious. Sage. Come on. We get to be race car drivers. Sage approached more cautiously, but Knox could see curiosity winning out over shyness. Is it safe? Completely safe, Knox assured her. I'll make sure you don't accidentally start it up and drive away. That earned him a tiny giggle from Sage, and Knox felt like he'd won the lottery. As Phillips helped the twins into the driver's seat of various cars, Knox and Nia stood together in awkward silence, the weight of 5 years and countless unspoken words hanging between them. They're incredible, Knox said softly, watching River pretend to shift gears while making elaborate vrooming sounds. You've done an amazing job raising them. I had help, Nia replied, her guard still firmly in place. My mother moved up from Chicago. My sister pitched in when she could. We made it work. But you did it alone. The actual parenting, the day-to-day decisions, the middle-of-the-night fevers and bad dreams and first steps. You did all of that alone. Something in Knox's voice made Nia look at him more carefully. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. The words were simple, but loaded with genuine regret. I'm so fucking sorry, Nia. I should have been there for all of it. You didn't know? I should have known. I should have tried harder to reach you after we broke up. I should have questioned why you just disappeared. I should have done a lot of things differently. Nia was quiet for a long moment, watching her children play. Why did you let your grandfather run me off, Knox? You knew how he felt about me. You knew he would try something. Knox felt the familiar weight of shame settle on his shoulders. Because I was a coward. Because I'd spent my entire life doing what my family expected, and I didn't know how to break free from that. Because I was terrified that if I chose you, I'd lose everything. And if I lost everything, I wouldn't be worthy of you anymore. So instead, you lost me. Instead, I lost everything that actually mattered. The raw honesty in his voice finally cracked something in Nia's carefully constructed armor. Knox, Daddy, Daddy. River's voice rang out across the showroom, and Knox's heart stopped. What did you call me? Knox moved toward the car where River was sitting behind the wheel. Daddy, that's what you are, right? Sage said you look exactly like us, so you must be our daddy. Knox looked at Nia, his eyes asking permission. She nodded almost imperceptibly. Yeah, buddy, I'm your daddy. River launched himself out of the car and into Knox's arms with the complete trust that only children possess. Knox caught him, holding his son for the first time, and felt tears he'd been holding back for 5 years finally fall. Where have you been? River asked with 4-year-old directness. Mommy said you were busy, but Tommy's daddy is busy too, and he still comes to soccer practice. Knox looked over River's head at Nia, seeing his own pain reflected in her eyes. I was lost, buddy. But I'm here now, and I'm never going to be lost again. Sage approached more cautiously, studying Knox with the same intensity he recognized in himself. Are you going to stay this time? The question hit Knox like a physical blow. I'm going to try, sweetheart. If your mommy says it's okay. 3 pairs of eyes turned to Nia, 2 small and hopeful, 1 large and desperate. She felt the weight of the decision, knowing that whatever she said next would change all of their lives forever. We can try, she said finally, but slowly and carefully. These babies have been through enough disappointment. Knox nodded, understanding the warning beneath her words. Whatever you need, whatever rules you want to set. I want to be part of their lives. Part of your life. Pizza, River announced suddenly. You said we could get pizza? Can we go now? I'm starving. Knox laughed, a sound of pure joy that he hadn't heard from himself in years. Pizza it is. Phillips, I'll take the Dawn. Have it delivered to my office Monday. Of course, Mr. Harrington. As they walked out of the dealership together, Knox carrying River while Sage held tightly to Nia's hand, Knox felt something he hadn't experienced since the day Nia walked out of his life. Hope. The tension is building. Drop a like if you're feeling Knox's regret right now. Tony's Pizza Palace. 2 hours later. The restaurant Knox chose was about as far from his usual five-star establishments as possible. Red checkered tablecloths, arcade games beeping in the corner, and the cheerful chaos of families enjoying casual meals together. Knox looked completely out of place in his expensive suit, but he'd never felt more comfortable anywhere in his life. "This place is awesome," River announced, bouncing in his booster seat. "Can I get extra cheese? And pepperoni? And those little round meat things?" "Sausage," Sage corrected with the patience of an older sister, even though they were only minutes apart. "They're called sausage, River." "I like sausage," River declared. "Daddy, do you like sausage?" Knox's heart still skipped every time River called him Daddy, so naturally. "I like whatever you like, buddy." Naya watched the interaction with a mixture of wonder and wariness. "You don't have to agree with everything they say, Knox. Part of being a parent is setting boundaries." "I'm still learning," Knox admitted. "Give me time to figure out the parent thing." "How much time?" The question came from Sage, who had been quietly observing everything. "Because Mommy says people who make promises and don't keep them are not good people." Knox turned his full attention to his daughter, recognizing her cautious intelligence. "That's very wise advice from your mommy. How about this? I promise to always tell you the truth, even when it's hard. And if I can't keep a promise, I'll explain why." "Deal." Sage considered this seriously. "Deal. But I have questions." "I'm ready. Why didn't you come to our birthday parties? We always wish for a daddy on our birthday candles." Knox felt like he'd been punched in the chest. He looked at Naya, who was staring intently at her pizza, then back at Sage. "I didn't know about your birthday parties, sweetheart. I didn't know you existed until today. But now that I do know, I promise I'll never miss another birthday. Never ever. Never ever." River had been following the conversation with growing excitement. "Does this mean you're going to live with us now? Like Tommy's daddy?" Knox and Naya both tensed. This was moving too fast, getting too complicated for a first meeting. "Adults have to figure out things like that slowly," Naya said gently. "For now, we're just getting to know each other." "But he's our daddy," River protested. "Daddies are supposed to live with their kids. That's what all the movies say." Knox reached across the table and touched River's small hand. "Movies aren't always like real life, buddy. Sometimes families are more complicated. But what matters is that people love each other and take care of each other, even if they don't all live in the same house." "Do you love us?" Sage asked with devastating directness. Knox felt his throat close up. "I've loved you since the moment I saw you today. And I loved you before I even knew you existed, because you're part of your mommy, and I never stopped loving her." The admission hung in the air between them. Naya's fork froze halfway to her mouth, and Knox realized he'd said too much, too soon. "You love Mommy?" River's eyes were wide with excitement. "Are you going to marry her? Can I be the ring boy?" Tommy was the ring boy at his aunt's wedding, and he got to wear a tuxedo. "Ring bearer," Sage corrected again. "And nobody's getting married, River. Grown-ups don't just get married because they have kids together." Knox was amazed by Sage's maturity, but also heartbroken by it. His 4-year-old daughter already understood that families could be complicated, that love didn't always mean being together. "Your sister's right," Knox said carefully. "Marriage is something that happens when two people decide they want to be partners for their whole lives. It's not something you rush into." "But you said you love Mommy," River persisted. "I do love your mommy. But loving someone and being ready to be their partner are different things. I need to prove that I've learned how to be a good partner before your mommy would even consider trusting me with something that important." Naya looked up at Knox with surprise. The old Knox would have assumed he deserved her trust, would have expected his declaration of love to be enough. This version seemed to understand that trust had to be earned. "How do you prove that?" Sage asked, always looking for concrete information. "By showing up," Knox said simply. "By keeping my promises. By putting your family's needs before my own wants. By being consistent and reliable and honest, even when it's hard." "That sounds like a lot of work," River observed. Knox laughed. "The best things in life usually are a lot of work, buddy." Their food arrived, and the conversation shifted to lighter topics, the twins' favorite foods, their school, their friends. Knox listened to every word, trying to absorb for years' worth of his children's lives in a single evening. "We go to Sunshine Academy," River explained around a mouthful of pizza. Miss Johnson is our teacher, and she's really nice. She lets us have 2 snacks if we're extra good. And we're learning to read chapter books, Sage added proudly. I can read all by myself now. That's incredible. What's your favorite book? The one about the girl who lives in a library, Sage said immediately. She gets to read all the books she wants and nobody tells her she can't. Knox filed that information away, already making mental notes about birthday and Christmas gifts. What about you, River? What do you like to do? I like to build things. Mommy got me these blocks that stick together and I made a whole castle. And I like trucks and cars and anything that goes fast. Knox smiled, recognizing his own childhood interests. I like to build things when I was your age too. Maybe we could build something together sometime. Really? Like what? Whatever you want. A castle, a spaceship, a racetrack, a tree house. River's excitement was infectious. I always wanted a tree house, but Mommy says we don't have the right kind of tree. Knox looked at Naya. Where do you live now? Brooklyn Heights. A brownstone I bought last year. There was pride in her voice, and Knox realized she was telling him she'd made it without his help or his family's money. Congratulations. That's a big achievement. Thank you. Naya's response was cautious, but not hostile. Mommy worked really hard to buy our house, River said loyally. She was on her computer all the time, and sometimes she fell asleep at her desk, and we had to bring her pillows. Knox felt another stab of guilt. While he'd been wallowing in his regret and self-pity, Naya had been building a life and a career while raising their children. Your mommy is the smartest, strongest person I know, Knox said sincerely. You're lucky to have her. We know, Sage said matter-of-factly. She tells us we can be anything we want to be if we work hard and be kind to people. That's very good advice. She also says that people who have more than others should help people who need help, River added. That's why we volunteer at the food bank every month. Knox was struck by how well Naya was raising their children, not just to be successful, but to be good people. It was yet another reminder of what he'd missed, what he'd lost through his own cowardice. As the evening wound down and the twins started to get sleepy, Knox knew he had to address the elephant in the room. What happens now? He asked Naya quietly while River and Sage were distracted by the arcade games. I don't know, she admitted. This isn't exactly a situation they cover in parenting books. Can I see them again? Soon. Naya was quiet for a long moment. They're going to get attached, Knox. Really quickly. Kids don't have the same emotional defenses adults do. If you're going to be in their lives, you have to be all in. No changing your mind when it gets difficult or inconvenient. I understand. Do you? Because being a parent isn't just pizza dinners and fun outings. It's middle-of-the-night stomach bugs and tantrums in grocery stores, and having to choose their needs over your wants every single day. It's being so tired you can barely stand, but still helping with homework and reading bedtime stories and making sure they feel safe and loved no matter what else is going on in your life. Knox listened to every word, hearing the exhaustion and dedication in Naya's voice. I want all of it. The good and the bad and the mundane and the challenging. I want to be their father in every sense of the word. And what about their mother? The question was so quiet Knox almost missed it. He looked at Naya, really looked at her, seeing not just the successful woman she'd become, but the girl he'd fallen in love with 5 years ago. I want whatever you're willing to give me. Friendship, co-parenting, a chance to earn back your trust. I'll take whatever you're comfortable with. And if that's all I'm ever comfortable with. Knox's smile was sad but genuine. Then I'll spend the rest of my life grateful for whatever part of your world you let me be part of. River and Sage returned to the table, both flushed with excitement from the arcade games. Daddy, I won you a prize. River thrust a small plastic dinosaur at Knox. It's a T-Rex and he's really fierce, but also really loyal to his friends. Knox accepted the prize with the solemnity the moment deserved. Thank you, River. This is the best gift anyone's ever given me. Really, really. As they prepared to leave the restaurant, Knox felt panic start to set in. What if this was it? What if Naya changed her mind and decided it was too complicated to have him in their lives? Can I drive you home? He offered. I can call my driver. We have our car, Naya said. But thank you. They walked out to the parking lot together, the twins chattering excitedly about the evening. When they reached Naya's modest sedan, Knox felt the finality of the moment approaching. When can I see you again? He asked, trying not to sound as desperate as he felt. Naya looked at River and Sage, who were both watching the adult conversation with interest. Saturday, she said finally. There's a playground in Prospect Park they like. 10 a.m. I'll be there. Knox. Naya's voice stopped him as he started to walk away. Don't make me regret this. Knox nodded, understanding the weight of her trust. I won't. I promise. As he watched them drive away, Knox felt something he hadn't experienced in 5 years. Purpose. He had a family. He had children who needed him, a woman he still loved who was giving him a chance to prove he'd changed. He wasn't going to waste it. Saturday morning, Knox arrived at Prospect Park 45 minutes early, pacing the length of the playground like a caged tiger. He'd changed clothes 3 times that morning, finally settling on dark jeans and a casual button-down shirt, something that looked approachable but still put together. He'd also stopped at FAO Schwartz and bought what was probably an inappropriate amount of toys for children he'd known for exactly 2 days. The playground was already busy with families enjoying the crisp autumn morning. Knox watched other fathers pushing their children on swings, helping them navigate monkey bars, and felt a pang of loss so sharp it took his breath away. He'd missed 4 years of Saturday mornings like this. You're early. Knox spun around to find Naya approaching with River and Sage in tow. She wore jeans and a cream-colored sweater that made her skin glow, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail that somehow made her look both younger and more beautiful than he remembered. I was excited, Knox admitted honestly. I brought some things for the kids, if that's okay. River's eyes lit up at the sight of the shopping bags Knox was carrying. Are those for us? River, Naya warned gently. What do we say about gifts from people we barely know? Knox felt the sting of being categorized as someone they barely knew, but he understood Naya's caution. Actually, maybe we should earn the gifts first. How about we play for a while, and if you have fun with your dad, then you can see what's in the bags. Sage tilted her head, considering this. That seems fair. What kind of playing did you have in mind? Knox looked around the playground, suddenly feeling overwhelmed by the choices. What do you usually like to do here? Swings. River announced immediately. I can go really, really high. I like the monkey bars, Sage said more quietly, but I can't make it all the way across yet. Well then, let's start with swings and work our way up to monkey bars. Deal. Deal. River was already running toward the swing set. Knox found himself following his children across the playground, acutely aware of Naya walking beside him. So what's the protocol here? Am I doing okay so far? You're being yourself, Naya observed. That's a good start. As opposed to trying to buy their affection or overcompensate for lost time. Naya's tone was neutral, but Knox heard the underlying warning. They need consistency more than grand gestures. Knox nodded, filing that advice away as they reached the swings. River was already climbing onto one, his little legs not quite long enough to reach the ground. Need a push, buddy? Yes. Make me fly. Knox positioned himself behind River's swing and gave a gentle push. River squealed with delight, immediately demanding to go higher. More. More. I want to touch the clouds. Let's work up to cloud touching. Knox laughed, giving progressively stronger pushes. Sage had settled onto the swing next to River, but made no move to start swinging. Knox noticed and moved to stand behind her swing. Would you like a push too, sweetheart? I can do it myself, Sage said quietly, but she didn't start pumping her legs. Knox recognized his own stubborn independence in his daughter's response. I know you can. But sometimes it's nice to let someone help, especially when they really want to. Sage considered this for a moment, then nodded. Knox gave her a gentle push, matching the rhythm he was using with River. This is nice, Sage said after a few minutes. You have good pushing technique. Knox burst out laughing. Thank you. I'll add that to my resume. Excellent swing pushing technique. Even Sage giggled at that. After 20 minutes of swings, they moved to the jungle gym. Knox found himself crawling through tunnels designed for people a quarter his size, spotting the twins as they navigated obstacles, and generally making a fool of himself in the name of fatherhood. And he'd never been happier. Daddy, come see. River called from the top of a climbing structure. I'm the king of the castle. Knox dutifully climbed up the child-sized ladder, his knees protesting the entire way. This is an excellent castle, Your Majesty. Very impressive fortifications. Do you know about castles? River asked seriously. A little bit. I know they were built to keep families safe from danger. Like how mommy keeps us safe. Knox glanced down at Naya, who was watching their interaction with an unreadable expression. Exactly like how mommy keeps you safe. When they finally made it to the monkey bars, Sage approached them with determination written all over her face. I'm going to make it across today, she announced. I've been practicing. I'll spot you, Knox offered. Just in case. Sage grabbed the first bar and began making her way across. Knox walked beside her, his hands positioned to catch her if she fell, offering encouragement with each successful grab. You're doing great, sweetheart. 3 more bars. 2 more. 1 more. Sage made it to the end and dropped down with a huge grin on her face. I did it. Did you see, mommy? I made it all the way across. I saw a baby girl. I'm so proud of you. Knox felt an overwhelming surge of pride and love watching his daughter's triumph. That was amazing, Sage. You're so strong and determined. Just like mommy says, I can do anything if I practice and don't give up. Knox looked at Naya again, seeing the wisdom and strength she'd instilled in their children. Your mommy is very wise. After 2 hours of playing, the twins were starting to get tired and cranky. Knox decided it was time to produce the gifts. So, I think you've both earned a look in these bags. But remember, these are just small things. The real gift is getting to spend time together. River dove into his bag immediately, producing a remote-controlled car that lit up and made realistic engine sounds. His excitement was infectious, and soon he was racing it around the playground while making elaborate vrooming noises. Sage opened her bag more carefully, gasping when she found a beautiful art set complete with colored pencils, markers, watercolors, and a sketch pad. It's perfect, she breathed. Thank you, Daddy. The natural way she said Daddy made Knox's heart soar. There's something for you too, Knox said to Naya, producing a smaller bag. Naya looked surprised. Knox, you didn't need to. It's not a big thing. Just something I saw and thought you might like. Inside the bag was a beautiful leather portfolio with her initials embossed in gold, clearly custom-made and expensive, but also practical and thoughtful. It's for your client presentations, Knox explained when he saw her examining it. I know you're still building your business, and first impressions matter. Naya was quiet for a long moment, running her fingers over the smooth leather. Thank you. It's beautiful. You're welcome. As they walked back toward the parking area, River tugging his new car along beside him and Sage clutching her art supplies, Knox felt a contentment he'd never experienced before. Can we do this again next week? River asked as they reached Naya's car. Knox looked at Naya hopefully. If your mom says it's okay. We'll see, Naya said diplomatically. Say goodbye to Knox. Both twins hugged Knox enthusiastically, and he found himself memorizing the feeling of their small arms around his neck. I had the best time, he told them sincerely. Thank you for playing with me. Thank you for our presents, River said, and for helping me fly on the swings. Thank you for helping me cross the monkey bars, Sage added. Will you help me again next time? Every time, Knox promised. As they drove away, Knox stood in the parking lot holding a plastic dinosaur and feeling like the richest man in the world. Monday morning, Knox's office. Knox was in the middle of a video conference with investors in Tokyo when his assistant Beverly knocked on his office door. He wrapped up the call quickly and motioned for her to enter. Sir, I have that information you requested, Beverly said, setting a thick folder on his desk. Knox had hired a private investigator over the weekend, not to spy on Naya, but to understand what her life had been like for the past 5 years. He needed to know what he was working with, what kind of support system she had, what challenges she'd faced. The report was comprehensive and heartbreaking. Naya had struggled initially after the twins were born. The medical bills from their premature delivery had been staggering, and she'd been forced to take on freelance work from her hospital bed to keep her fledgling business afloat. Her mother had moved from Chicago to help with childcare, and her sister had contributed what she could, but they'd lived paycheck to paycheck for the first 2 years. The breakthrough had come when Naya landed a contract with a major pharmaceutical company that needed to overhaul their marketing to reach underserved communities. Her campaign had been so successful that word spread throughout the industry, and Brooks Digital Solutions had grown exponentially. Now, according to the investigators' financial analysis, Naya was worth approximately $8 million, a far cry from Knox's billion, but more than enough to provide a comfortable life for herself and the twins. What struck Knox most was reading about the small details of their lives. River's hospitalization at 18 months for pneumonia, which had nearly bankrupted Naya before her business took off. Sage's struggles with shyness that led to speech therapy sessions Naya attended religiously. The twins' first day of preschool, which Naya had documented in a blog post about the terror and pride of watching your children take their first steps toward independence. Knox had missed all of it. There was a knock on his office door, interrupting his brooding. "Come in." To his surprise, it was his grandfather, Theodore Harrington III, the patriarch of the family and the man who had built their empire from the ground up. At 85, he remained sharp as a blade and twice as cutting. "Grandfather." Knox stood, straightening his tie automatically. "This is unexpected. Sit down, Knox. We need to talk." Theodore settled into one of the leather chairs across from Knox's desk, his pale blue eyes studying his grandson with familiar intensity. "I hear you've been making a fool of yourself in public. Playground visits? Pizza restaurants? What's this nonsense about children?" Knox felt his old defensive patterns kicking in, the automatic deference to his grandfather's authority that had shaped his entire life. But then he thought about River calling him daddy, about Sage's proud smile when she conquered the monkey bars, about Naya's cautious trust. "Those children are my son and daughter," Knox said calmly. "And I'm going to be part of their lives. Don't be ridiculous. Some woman shows up with a sob story, and suddenly you're playing father? We don't even know if they're actually yours." "I know. You know? Based on what? Some supposed resemblance? DNA tests can be faked, Knox. This is obviously a con designed to get money out of you." Knox felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "Naya doesn't want my money. She's built her own successful business. She's worth $8 million. Theodore's eyebrows shot up. $8 million? That's not insignificant. "No, it's not. She's brilliant, hardworking, and she raised our children without a penny of support from me or this family." "Our children? Knox, you're being manipulated. This woman has a name. Naya Brooks. And she's the mother of my children and the love of my life." Theodore went very still. "I see. So we're back to this again." "We're not back to anything. We're moving forward to something new." "Knox, I need you to think carefully about what you're saying. You have responsibilities to this family, to this company. You can't throw away everything we've built for some misguided romantic notion." Knox stood up, moving to the window that overlooked the city. "What exactly have we built, grandfather? A company that makes money? Buildings that house other businesses? A legacy of what exactly? Wealth, security, influence. The ability to shape the world according to our vision. And what's our vision? More money? More buildings? More power over people who have less than we do." Theodore's voice grew cold. "Don't be naive, Knox. Power and wealth are the only things that matter in this world. Everything else is sentiment and weakness." Knox turned back to face his grandfather. "Then you raised me wrong. Because the only things that have ever made me happy are love and family. And I threw both away 5 years ago because I was too much of a coward to stand up to you. I saved you from making a terrible mistake. No, you cost me the best 5 years of my life and 4 years of my children's lives. You cost me the woman I loved and the family I should have been building." Theodore stood as well, his frame still imposing despite his age. "If you pursue this path, Knox, there will be consequences. This family has standards, expectations. We don't consort with people like that." Knox felt something snap inside him. "People like what, grandfather? Successful entrepreneurs? Brilliant marketers? Loving mothers? Or are you going to say what you really mean? Watch your tone with me, young man. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm 32 years old, and I'm done letting you dictate my life based on your prejudices and fears." Knox moved toward his desk and pressed the button for his assistant. "Beverly, please escort Mr. Harrington to the elevator." Theodore's face went red with anger. "You're making a mistake, Knox. Don't come crawling back to me when this all falls apart. I won't need to. I've got everything I need." After his grandfather left, Knox sat alone in his office, his hands shaking slightly from the adrenaline of the confrontation. His phone buzzed with a text message from Naya. "The twins keep asking when they can see you again. Are you free for dinner tomorrow night? Somewhere kid-friendly again." Knox smiled, his tension immediately melting away. He typed back quickly. I'm free every night for the rest of my life if it means spending time with you and the kids. What do they like besides pizza? River is obsessed with burgers. Sage prefers anything with vegetables. I know a place that does both well. Perfect. Can I pick you up at 6? There was a longer pause before her response came through. We can meet you there. I'll text you the address. Knox understood the boundaries she was setting. She wasn't ready for him to come to their home, wasn't ready for that level of integration into their lives. But she was willing to keep trying, and that was enough for now. Tuesday evening, the burger joint the restaurant Naya had chosen was perfect, casual enough that the twins could be themselves, but with excellent food and a relaxed atmosphere that encouraged conversation. Knox arrived 15 minutes early again, unable to help himself, and was surprised to find them already there. Daddy. River launched himself out of the booth and into Knox's arms. We got here first. Mommy said we could order you a drink. What did you order me? Knox asked, settling into the booth next to River while Sage scooted closer to show him her new drawing. Chocolate milk, River announced proudly. Because that's the best drink ever. Knox looked at the tall glass of chocolate milk sitting in front of his place setting and grinned. You're absolutely right. Chocolate milk is definitely the best drink ever. Naya was watching the interaction with something that might have been amusement. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to. Are you kidding? When's the last time I had chocolate milk? This is a treat. Knox took a sip and made an exaggerated expression of delight that had both twins giggling. Look what I drew. Sage thrust her sketch pad at Knox. The drawing showed 4 stick figures holding hands in front of a house, with my family written across the top in careful 4-year-old letters. Knox's throat went tight as he studied the picture. This is beautiful, Sage. Can you tell me about it? That's me. Sage pointed to the smallest figure with pigtails. And that's River, and that's Mommy, and that's you. We're all holding hands because we're a family now. Knox looked at Naya, seeing his own emotional overwhelm reflected in her eyes. Can I keep this picture? I'd love to put it in my office. Really? You want to put my drawing in your office? I want everyone who comes to see me to know how talented my daughter is. Sage beamed with pride. As they ordered dinner and settled into conversation, Knox marveled at how natural this felt. River chatted nonstop about his day at school, his friend Marcus who could do a backflip, and his plans to build a rocket ship. Sage was quieter but observed everything, occasionally offering insightful comments that reminded Knox how intelligent his children were. Tell me about school, Knox said during a lull in River's monologue. What's your favorite subject? Art, Sage said immediately. I like to draw pictures of things I see in my head. I like blocks and building time, River added. But I don't like circle time because you have to sit still for too long. Knox laughed. I can understand that. I was never very good at sitting still either when I was your age. Mommy says you build big buildings, Sage said. Like really, really big ones. I do. Would you like to see one sometime? Both twins' eyes lit up. Can we go to the top? River asked. If your mom says it's okay, we can go all the way to the roof and see the whole city. Knox looked at Naya for permission. There's an observation deck on the Harrington Tower. It's completely safe, and the view is incredible. Please, Mommy. River was practically bouncing in his seat. Can we see Daddy's building? Naya hesitated, and Knox could see her internal struggle. Visiting his building would be crossing another boundary, moving from neutral public spaces into his world. Maybe, she said finally. We'll see. After dinner, as they walked out to the parking area, River slipped his small hand into Knox's. The simple gesture hit Knox like a physical blow. The trust, the affection, the easy acceptance that only children possessed. Daddy, will you come to my soccer game on Saturday? River asked as they reached Naya's car. Knox looked at Naya questioningly. You play soccer? Just started this season, Naya explained. It's recreational league, nothing too serious. Games are at 10 a.m. in Prospect Park. I would love to come to your soccer game, Knox told River. What position do you play? All of them, River said proudly. Coach says I have lots of energy. Knox could imagine that was true. What about you, Sage? Do you have any games or performances coming up? I'm in the school art show next month, Sage said shyly. They're going to hang our paintings in the hallway for everyone to see. That's wonderful. I'd love to see your painting when it's displayed. Really, I'm very proud of both of you. As Knox hugged the twins goodbye, Sage whispered in his ear, I'm glad you're our daddy. You're nice and you smell good and you make mommy smile. Knox's heart clenched. I'm glad I'm your daddy too, sweetheart. More glad than you could ever know. After they drove away, Knox stood in the parking lot processing what Sage had said. He made Nia smile. That was progress, wasn't it? Thursday afternoon, Brooks Digital Solutions Knox had spent 2 days debating whether to visit Nia at her office. On one hand, he wanted to see what she'd built, to understand the world she'd created without him. On the other hand, he didn't want to overstep boundaries or make her uncomfortable in her own professional space. Finally, his curiosity won out. Brooks Digital Solutions occupied the top 3 floors of a converted warehouse in Dumbo, with stunning views of the Manhattan skyline and the Brooklyn Bridge. The reception area was modern and sleek, with examples of Nia's campaigns displayed on digital screens around the room. I'm here to see Nia Brooks, Knox told the receptionist. Knox Harrington. The young woman's eyes widened slightly in recognition. Of course, Mr. Harrington. Let me see if Ms. Brooks is available. Knox waited, studying the campaign displays with growing admiration. Nia's work was brilliant, creative, culturally aware, and obviously effective based on the impressive client roster scrolling across one of the screens. Knox. He turned to find Nia approaching, looking polished and professional in a tailored navy dress and heels. She looked every inch the successful CEO, and Knox felt a surge of pride and regret. Pride in what she'd accomplished, regret that he'd missed watching her build it. Hi, I hope it's okay that I stopped by. I wanted to see what you'd built here. Nia looked uncertain, but not hostile. It's fine. Would you like a tour? I'd love one. Nia led him through the office space, introducing him to various team members and explaining different aspects of their work. Knox was impressed by the obvious respect and affection her employees had for her. This wasn't just a boss, but a leader who had created a positive, collaborative culture. This is our main conference room, Nia said, opening the door to a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bridge. We do most of our client presentations here. It's incredible, Nia. All of this. You should be so proud of what you've accomplished. Thank you. She paused, seeming to debate whether to say something else. Knox, why are you really here? Knox had been asking himself the same question. Honestly, I wanted to understand your life. I wanted to see the world you built while I was missing everything that mattered. And what do you think now that you've seen it? Knox looked around the conference room, then out at the view of Manhattan where his own building dominated the skyline. I think you did something I never could. You built something meaningful, something that makes a difference in people's lives. My buildings house businesses, but your work changes how people see themselves, how they're seen by others. Nia was quiet for a moment. Thank you. That means a lot, coming from you. Can I ask you something? Okay. Why didn't you ever reach out again? After my grandfather turned you away, why didn't you try another way to contact me? Nia moved to the window, looking out at the city. Because 6 weeks later, I saw the engagement announcement in the society pages. You and Priscilla Worthington, the perfect society wedding plan for the following spring. Knox's blood ran cold. What engagement announcement? It was in the Times. A big spread about how 2 of New York's most prominent families were joining together. Nia, there was never an engagement. I never proposed to Priscilla. I barely even dated her. Nia turned back to face him, confusion clear on her face. But the announcement? Was my grandfather's wishful thinking made public without my knowledge or consent? I was furious when I saw it. I called the Times and had them print a retraction, but by then I was 6 months pregnant and had already decided you'd moved on. They stared at each other across the conference room, the weight of years of misunderstanding settling between them. Jesus, Nia. All this time, you thought I'd gotten engaged weeks after we broke up? What was I supposed to think? Your grandfather told me you were with someone more suitable, and then I saw it in print. Knox sat heavily in one of the conference chairs. We're both idiots. Excuse me. You should have tried harder to reach me. I should have tried harder to reach you. We should have trusted each other more than we trusted other people's versions of the truth. Nia sat down across from him. Maybe. But Knox, even if there hadn't been the engagement announcement, even if I had told you about the pregnancy, what would have really happened? Would you have stood up to your family then? Would you have chosen me over their expectations? It was the question Knox had been asking himself for 5 years. I don't know. I want to say yes, but honestly, I don't know if I was strong enough then. And now, Knox met her eyes directly. Now I know what life feels like without you and the kids. Now I know that all the money and success in the world means nothing if you don't have love and family. Now I'd choose you over everything else without a moment's hesitation. It's easy to say that when you're not actually being forced to choose. Before Knox could respond, Naya's assistant knocked on the conference room door. Ms. Brooks, your 3 p.m. is here. Thank you, Janet. I'll be right there. Naya turned back to Knox. I have to take this meeting. Of course. Knox stood to leave, then paused. Naya, would you consider having dinner with me? Just the two of us, without the kids. I think we need to have some conversations without 4-year-old translators. Naya hesitated. Knox, I'm not asking for a romantic evening. I'm asking for a chance to talk honestly about where we've been and where we might be going. As co-parents, if nothing else. As co-parents, Naya repeated slowly. As co-parents. Okay, Friday night. But somewhere public, and I drive myself. Absolutely. I'll make reservations somewhere nice, but not too intimate. Send me your preferences, and I'll handle the details. As Knox left Brooks Digital Solutions, he felt like he was making progress. Slowly, carefully, but progress nonetheless. Friday night. Dinner. Knox had chosen a restaurant in Manhattan that was upscale enough to feel special, but busy enough to feel safe. He arrived early, as had become his habit, and spent the time reviewing what he wanted to say to Naya. When she walked in, Knox's breath caught. She wore a simple black dress that highlighted her natural elegance, her hair loose around her shoulders in the way he remembered from their early days together. She looked beautiful, confident, and slightly nervous. You look incredible, Knox said as she approached the table. Thank you. You look good too. They ordered wine and spent the first few minutes in polite conversation about the restaurant, the food, neutral topics that kept them both comfortable. But eventually, Knox knew they had to address the elephant in the room. Naya, I owe you an apology. A real one, for things I should have said 5 years ago. Naya set down her wine glass. Okay, I'm sorry for not fighting harder for us. I'm sorry for letting my family's expectations matter more than my own heart. I'm sorry for being too much of a coward to stand up for the woman I loved. Knox, I'm not finished. Knox's voice was gentle but determined. I'm sorry for missing the first 4 years of our children's lives. I'm sorry you had to struggle alone, that you had to build all of this without support, that you had to explain to River and Sage why their father wasn't there. Naya's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Thank you. That means more than you know. But I also need to say something else. I'm not sorry that you left. Naya looked surprised. What? I'm not sorry you left, because if you hadn't, I would never have learned how to be worthy of you. I would have kept being the same selfish, scared man who prioritized his family's approval over everything else. Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but it was also the thing that finally made me grow up. What do you mean? Knox took a sip of wine, gathering his thoughts. After you left, I went into therapy. For 2 years, twice a week. I had to learn why I was so afraid of my grandfather's disapproval, why I couldn't make decisions based on my own values instead of family expectations. And what did you learn? That I was so desperate for my grandfather's approval because I never had my father's. Dad died when I was 12, and grandfather stepped in to raise me. But his love always felt conditional, dependent on me living up to the family legacy, making the right choices, being the perfect heir. Naya leaned forward, listening intently. I learned that I was attracted to successful, independent women because they felt safe. If they didn't need me financially, then any love they offered had to be real. But then I'd get scared that their independence meant they could leave easily, so I try to create dependence through control. Is that what you were doing with me? Knox nodded, without realizing it. Every time I tried to manage your career decisions or limit your social activities, I was trying to make myself essential to your life. I was trying to ensure you couldn't leave me, but all you did was make me feel trapped. I know that now. Real love means trusting someone enough to let them choose you freely, every day. It means supporting their independence, not undermining it. Their food arrived, providing a natural break in the intense conversation. As they ate, Naya seemed to be processing what Knox had shared. Can I ask you something? She said finally. Anything. What's different now? How do I know you won't revert to those old patterns when things get difficult or stressful? It was a fair question, and Knox had been expecting it. Honestly, You don't know for sure. All I can do is show you, day by day, choice by choice. But I can tell you what's different in my thinking. I'm listening. 5 years ago, I thought love meant never letting go. Now I know love means holding on lightly enough that the other person feels free. 5 years ago, I thought your success reflected poorly on my masculinity. Now I see it as a gift that makes our family stronger. Knox set down his fork and leaned forward. Most importantly, 5 years ago I thought I deserved you because of who I was, my name, my money, my status. Now I know I have to earn you every day through my actions, my choices, the way I treat you and our children. And if I'm never ready to be more than co-parents? If friendship and shared custody is all I can offer? Knox felt a stab of pain at the thought, but his answer was honest. Then I'll be grateful for whatever part of your life you let me share. River and Sage deserve to have their father, and you deserve to have a partner in raising them, even if that partnership is purely practical. But you'd want more. Of course I'd want more. I still love you, Naya. I never stopped loving you. But wanting something and demanding it are different things. I've learned to live with wanting. Naya was quiet for a long time, swirling wine in her glass. I loved you too, you know. Even when I hated you, I loved you. That's what made your choice so devastating. I know, and I'm sorrier about that than I can ever express. The thing is, Naya continued slowly, I built a good life without you. I figured out how to be happy as a single mother, how to run a business, how to be complete on my own. I don't need you the way I did 5 years ago. Knox nodded. I know. That's one of the things I respect most about you. But watching you with River and Sage, seeing how natural you are with them, how much they already adore you, it makes me think maybe they deserve the chance to have both their parents in their lives. I'd like that, more than I can say. And maybe, Naya hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. Maybe I deserve the chance to see who you've become. To find out if the man you are now is someone I could trust with my heart again. Knox felt hope bloom in his chest, but he was careful to keep his response measured. I'd like that chance. But slowly, at your pace. No pressure, no expectations. Slowly, Naya agreed. Very slowly. Can I ask you something now? Okay. Saturday, after River's soccer game. Would you and the kids like to come see the building? Maybe have lunch in the city? Naya smiled, and Knox saw a glimpse of the woman he'd fallen in love with 5 years ago. I think they'd like that. And I think I would too. As Knox walked Naya to her car later that evening, he felt cautiously optimistic for the first time in years. They weren't back together, weren't even dating really, but they were talking. They were building something new on the foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Thank you for tonight, Knox said as Naya unlocked her car. For giving me a chance to explain, to apologize properly. Thank you for doing the work to become someone worth apologizing to, Naya replied. The old you would have just expected forgiveness because you wanted it. Knox laughed. The old me was an entitled asshole. You were. But you were also kind and funny and brilliant when you weren't being controlled by fear. Naya paused with her hand on the car door. I'm curious to see which version of you shows up tomorrow. The version who's learned that love is a choice you make every day, not a feeling you expect to be reciprocated. Naya's smile was soft and genuine. That sounds like a version I'd like to get to know. Can you imagine meeting your children for the first time at age 4? Let me know how you think Knox is handling this in the comments. Saturday, soccer game, and the building. Knox arrived at Prospect Park 20 minutes before River's soccer game was scheduled to start, carrying a folding chair and a thermos of coffee. He dressed down in jeans and a sweater, wanting to blend in with the other parents rather than stand out. The field was already buzzing with activity, tiny players in colorful jerseys running around with more enthusiasm than technique, parents setting up chairs along the sidelines, coaches attempting to organize children who seemed more interested in examining bugs than practicing soccer drills. Knox spotted River immediately. His son was in a bright blue jersey, number 7, and was currently engaged in an intense conversation with another little boy about something that required a lot of hand gestures. Knox, Naya's voice called from behind him. He turned to see her approaching with Sage in tow, carrying a large bag that probably contained snacks, water bottles, and various other parental necessities. Morning, ladies. Beautiful day for soccer. Daddy. Sage ran to Knox and hugged his legs. Did you see River? He's number 7 like his favorite player. Who's his favorite player? Cristiano Ronaldo, Sage said seriously. He watches videos of him on YouTube and practices his moves in the backyard. Knox looked at the field where River was now attempting what appeared to be an elaborate bicycle kick that resulted in him falling dramatically to the ground. I can see the influence. Nia laughed. He's very dedicated to his craft. They set up their chairs on the sideline, and Knox felt a strange contentment settle over him. This was what he'd missed: Saturday morning soccer games, the simple pleasure of watching his child play, the easy camaraderie of other parents cheering from the sidelines. "Mommy, Daddy," River came running over, his face flushed with excitement. "Did you see my goal kick? It went really far." "We saw, buddy. Very impressive." Knox knelt down to River's level. "Are you excited for the game?" "Yeah. Coach says I'm the fastest runner on the team." "That's wonderful. What position are you playing today?" River's brow furrowed. "I think all of them. Coach said I have lots of energy, so I should just run around and kick the ball toward the goal." Knox bit back a laugh. "That sounds like an excellent strategy." When the game started, Knox was amazed by the controlled chaos that was 4-year-old soccer. Players frequently got distracted by airplanes overhead. Several children sat down in the middle of the field to examine interesting flowers, and at one point the entire game stopped when someone spotted a butterfly. But River was indeed fast, and he had good instincts for where the ball was going. Knox found himself on his feet, cheering enthusiastically when River managed to kick the ball in the general direction of the goal. "Go, River. Nice kick." "You're really getting into this," Nia observed with amusement. "Are you kidding? This is the most exciting sporting event I've ever attended." Sage, who had been quietly drawing in her sketchpad, looked up. "More exciting than when you went to that fancy baseball game in the special box." Knox paused, realizing Sage must have overheard him talking about corporate entertainment events. "Much more exciting. Because this time, I'm cheering for someone I love." The game ended in a 3-2 victory for River's team, though Knox suspected the score was somewhat arbitrary given the general enthusiasm for rule following among 4-year-olds. River came running off the field, sweaty and grinning. "Did you see? Did you see? I kicked the ball and it went in the goal." "We saw. You were amazing." Knox scooped River up in a hug, not caring that his son was covered in grass stains and dirt. "Can we go see your building now? You promised we could go to the top." Knox looked at Nia. "If you're still up for it, let's do it. But can we stop at home first so River can change clothes? He's more dirt than boy at this point." "Of course." An hour later, they were standing in the lobby of Harrington Tower, Knox's flagship Manhattan building. The twins were wide-eyed at the marble floors, soaring ceilings, and general grandeur of the space. "You really work here every day?" Sage asked, her voice echoing slightly in the vast lobby. "I do." "Want to see my office?" The elevator ride to the 47th floor was an adventure in itself, with River pressed against the glass wall watching the city shrink below them while Sage asked technical questions about how elevators worked. Knox's office impressed even Nia, who tried to hide her reaction to the panoramic city views and obvious luxury of the space. "This is where you make important decisions?" River asked, climbing onto Knox's desk chair and spinning around. "Some of them. But you know what? The most important decision I ever made wasn't made in this office." "What was it?" Sage asked. "Deciding to be your daddy. That decision happened in a car dealership, and it was the best decision of my life." Knox showed them around the office, explaining how buildings were designed and constructed, letting them look through architectural plans and engineering drawings. Both twins were fascinated, asking dozens of questions and offering their own suggestions for improvement. "You should add a playground on the roof," River suggested seriously, "for when people's kids come to work with them. And an art studio with really good windows," Sage added, "for when people need to think creatively." Knox exchanged a look with Nia. "Those are actually really good ideas. Maybe I should hire you two as consultants." "What's a consultant?" River asked. "Someone who gives advice to help make things better." "We could do that," River said enthusiastically. "We have lots of good ideas." The observation deck was the highlight of the visit. 50 stories above the city, with 360-degree views of Manhattan, Brooklyn, and beyond, it took everyone's breath away. "I can see our house," Sage claimed, though Knox was fairly certain that was impossible from this distance. "And look, there's the park where we played." River pointed in the general direction of Prospect Park. This is incredible, Knox, Naya said quietly, standing beside him at the railing. I can see why you love it up here. I used to come up here when I felt lost or overwhelmed. But you know what? I haven't been up here once since I met you and the kids again. Why not? Because I'm not lost anymore. I know exactly where I belong. For lunch, Knox had arranged for a private dining room at a family-friendly restaurant nearby. The kids were tired from their busy morning, but still excited, chattering about everything they'd seen. Daddy, when I grow up, can I work in your building? River asked over his grilled cheese sandwich. You can work wherever you want, buddy. You could work in my building, or you could build your own building, or you could do something completely different. The important thing is that you do something that makes you happy. What if I want to be an artist? Sage asked quietly. Then you'll be the best artist you can be, and I'll support you however I can. Knox saw Naya smile at his response, and he realized he'd passed some kind of test. As they walked back toward the parking garage after lunch, River slipped his hand into Knox's while Sage held onto Naya's. For a moment, they looked like any other family enjoying a Saturday afternoon in the city. This was the best day ever, River announced. Can we do it again next week? Knox looked at Naya hopefully. That depends on your mom's schedule. Actually, Naya said slowly, I was thinking, maybe next weekend you could come to our house. For dinner, if you want to see where we live. Knox felt his heart skip. I'd love that. More than anything. Saturday at 6? Fair warning, it's going to be chaos. I'm not the world's best cook, and the kids will probably want to show you every toy they own. That sounds perfect. As Knox watched them drive away that evening, he reflected on how much his life had changed in just 2 weeks. He had gone from being a successful but empty man to being someone's father, someone's potential partner, someone who mattered to people who mattered to him. For the first time in 5 years, Knox Harrington was exactly where he wanted to be. The following Saturday, Naya's house. Knox stood on the front steps of Naya's Brooklyn Heights brownstone, holding a bottle of wine and a bouquet of flowers, more nervous than he'd been for any business meeting in his life. This was Naya's sanctuary, the home she'd built for herself and their children, and being invited inside felt like a monumental step forward. The door opened before he could knock, revealing River in pajamas despite it being only 6 p.m. Daddy, you're here. Mommy said you were coming for dinner, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I've been looking forward to it all week. Buddy, are those dinosaur pajamas? Yeah, want to see them roar? River proceeded to demonstrate the roaring capabilities of his pajamas with great enthusiasm. River, let him inside before you scare the neighbors, Naya called from somewhere deeper in the house. Knox stepped into the front hallway and was immediately struck by how warm and welcoming the space felt. Unlike his sterile penthouse, this was clearly a home where people lived and loved and laughed. Children's artwork covered the refrigerator, toys were scattered in comfortable corners, and the whole place smelled like something delicious cooking. Knox, Naya appeared from the kitchen, wearing jeans and a simple blouse, an apron tied around her waist. She looked beautiful and domestic and completely at ease in her own space. Welcome to our chaos. It's perfect, Knox said honestly. Thank you for having me. These are for you. He offered the flowers, a mixed bouquet in autumn colors that he'd chosen because they reminded him of the beauty he saw in Naya. They're beautiful. Thank you. Naya accepted the flowers with a smile that made Knox's chest tight. Sage is upstairs changing clothes. She's been planning her outfit for this dinner all week. Really? Really? Apparently, having dinner with your father is a dress-up occasion. Before Knox could respond, Sage appeared at the top of the stairs in a purple dress with matching tights, her hair carefully styled with small braids. Do I look nice? She asked seriously. You look absolutely beautiful, sweetheart. Like a princess. Sage beamed and carefully made her way down the stairs. Can I show you my room? River asked immediately. And my toys? And my books? And my... Let him get settled first. Naya interrupted gently. Dinner will be ready in about 20 minutes. Knox, would you like a drink? I have wine, beer, or... She grinned. Chocolate milk. Wine sounds perfect. And I'd love to see their rooms, if that's okay. Of course. Fair warning, River's room looks like a toy store exploded. The house tour was everything Knox had hoped for and more. River's room was indeed an explosion of trucks, building blocks, and stuffed animals. The walls were covered with his artwork and photos of him and Sage at various stages of their young lives. Sage's room was more organized, but equally personalized. Her drawings were carefully displayed, and she had a small easel set up by the window where she clearly spent time creating. "This is where I draw pictures of things I see in my dreams," Sage explained, showing Knox a sketch of what appeared to be a castle in the clouds. "It's beautiful. You're very talented." "Mommy says talent is just practice in disguise." Knox smiled. "Your mommy is very wise." The living room was comfortable and lived in, with a large sectional sofa covered in soft blankets and throw pillows. Family photos covered the mantel and side tables, pictures of Naya with the twins, of Naya's mother visiting from Chicago, of birthday parties and holidays and ordinary moments that made up a life. Knox paused at a photo of the twins as newborns, tiny and red-faced in the NICU. "They were born 6 weeks early," Naya said quietly, coming to stand beside him. "Scared me to death. They're so small. 3 pounds each. But fighters, right from the start." Knox studied the photo, imagining Naya sitting beside those incubators, alone and terrified, while he was going about his life completely unaware that his children existed. "I should have been there," he said softly. "You didn't know. I should have known. I should have tried harder to find you." Naya touched his arm gently. "We can't change the past, Knox. We can only decide what to do with the future." Dinner was a revelation. Naya had made roast chicken with vegetables, nothing fancy, but cooked with obvious care and love. The twins chattered throughout the meal, telling Knox about their friends at school, their favorite books, their plans for Halloween costumes. "I want to be a superhero," River announced. "One who builds things instead of just fighting bad guys." "What about you, Sage?" Knox asked. "An artist, but one who travels around the world painting pictures of beautiful places." "Those both sound like excellent career choices." After dinner, they moved to the living room where the twins insisted on showing Knox their favorite books. He found himself on the couch with a child on each side, reading stories about brave princesses and adventurous bears. "Will you do the voices?" River asked. "Mommy does really good voices." Knox looked at Naya, who was watching from the doorway with an expression he couldn't quite read. "I can try, though I'm probably not as good as Mommy." He did his best with the character voices, making River giggle and earning Sage's serious approval. When both children started yawning, Naya declared it bedtime. "But we want Daddy to tuck us in," River protested. Knox looked at Naya questioningly. Tucking them in felt like another boundary, another step into the intimate circle of their family life. "If he wants to," Naya said softly. "I'd love to." Tucking in his children for the first time was an experience Knox knew he'd remember for the rest of his life. River wanted 3 stories, 2 glasses of water, an extensive discussion about whether monsters could be defeated with kindness. Sage was more efficient, but required her stuffed elephant to be positioned just right and her nightlight adjusted to the proper brightness. "Daddy," Sage said as Knox was about to turn off her light. "Yes, sweetheart." "Are you going to be here tomorrow?" The question hit Knox square in the chest. "Not tomorrow, but I'll see you again very soon. I promise. But will you be here for breakfast sometime?" Knox glanced toward the doorway where Naya was standing. "That's something I have to discuss with your mommy." "I hope so," Sage said sleepily. "I like having a daddy." When Knox came back downstairs, Naya had opened a bottle of wine and was curled up on the couch. "They're incredible," Knox said, settling beside her. "You've done such an amazing job raising them." "Thank you. It hasn't always been easy, but they're worth everything." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, sipping wine and listening to the sounds of the house settling around them. "Can I ask you something?" Naya said eventually. "Anything. What do you want, Knox? Long term, I mean. What's your ideal outcome from all of this?" Knox set down his wine glass and turned to face her fully. "Honestly, I want everything. I want to be River and Sage's father in every sense of the word. I want to be here for bedtime stories and soccer games and art shows and scraped knees and teenage heartbreak. I want to co-parent with you, to make decisions together, to share the responsibility and the joy. And personally, what do you want from me?" Knox took a deep breath. "I want the chance to fall in love with you all over again. I want to court you properly this time, to earn your trust and your heart. I want to wake up next to you and go to sleep holding you and build a life together that's based on partnership and respect instead of control and fear." Naya was quiet for a long moment. That's a lot to want. I know, and I know I have no right to any of it. But you asked what I wanted, not what I expected. What if I'm not ready for all of that? What if I can only give you part of it? Then I'll be grateful for whatever part you can give. Naya, 5 years ago I lost you because I demanded everything immediately and didn't respect your boundaries. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Naya studied his face in the soft lamplight. You really have changed, haven't you? I've tried to. I'm still trying to. Knox. Yeah. Kiss me. Knox's heart stopped. Are you sure? I'm sure. Knox leaned forward slowly, giving her time to change her mind, and gently touched his lips to hers. The kiss was soft, tentative, full of 5 years of longing and regret and hope. When they broke apart, both were breathing unsteadily. I've missed that, Naya whispered. I've missed everything about you. This doesn't mean everything is fixed, Naya said, her forehead resting against his. We still have a lot to work through. I know, and we need to take things slowly. For the kids' sake as much as ours. Whatever pace you need. But maybe we can see where this goes. Knox smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years. I'd like that. More than I can say. As Knox prepared to leave that evening, River and Sage appeared at the top of the stairs in their pajamas. Are you leaving already? River called down. It's past your bedtime, buddy. But I'll see you again soon. Tomorrow. Knox looked at Naya, who smiled. Maybe not tomorrow, but this week sometime. Promise. Promise. As Knox drove home that night, he reflected on how dramatically his life had changed in just 3 weeks. He had a family now, not just in biology, but in love and commitment and daily choice. He had children who called him daddy and meant it, and a woman who was willing to give him a second chance at forever. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges, obstacles, moments of doubt and difficulty. But for the first time in 5 years, Knox Harrington was building something that mattered, something that would last, something based on love instead of fear. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, the sound of children's laughter filled the air as Knox pushed River higher on the swing set he'd installed in the backyard of Naya's house. Their house now, since he'd officially moved in 2 months ago. Higher, Daddy. I want to touch the clouds. Careful, buddy. Let's work up to cloud touching gradually. Sage was nearby, painting at the easel Knox had set up under the big oak tree. Her latest masterpiece appeared to be a family portrait featuring 4 stick figures and a dog. We don't have a dog, Knox observed, looking over her shoulder. We will, Sage said matter-of-factly. Mommy said we could get one when we're all settled into being a family. Knox's heart did its usual flip when one of the twins talked about them being a family. 6 months in, and he still couldn't quite believe this was his life. Knox, Naya's voice called from the back door. Your grandfather is here. Knox's stomach clenched. Theodore Harrington III had been notably absent from their lives since Knox had chosen his family over the old man's approval. Knox had heard through business associates that his grandfather was not pleased with the recent developments, but he'd hoped the man would eventually come around. Kids, keep playing. I'll be right back. Knox found Theodore standing stiffly in the living room, looking around at the comfortable chaos of family life with obvious discomfort. Grandfather. Knox. Theodore's voice was cold, but not hostile. I see you've settled in. I have. What brings you here? Theodore was quiet for a moment, studying a photo on the mantle of Knox with River and Sage at the zoo. I wanted to see them. My great-grandchildren. Knox felt a flicker of hope. They're in the backyard. But I need to know, are you here to accept them, or to cause trouble? I'm here because a man should know his family. It wasn't the warm acceptance Knox had hoped for, but it wasn't rejection either. They're good kids, grandfather. Smart, funny kind. You'd be proud of them. And their mother? Knox's jaw tightened. Their mother is an incredible woman who's built a successful business while raising our children. She's everything I could want in a partner. Theodore nodded slowly. And you're happy? The question surprised Knox. Yes, happier than I've ever been. Then I suppose I should meet them properly. The meeting between Theodore and the twins was carefully supervised and cautiously successful. River, predictably, was immediately fascinated by this new adult and bombarded him with questions about everything from his age to his car to whether he knew any good stories about knights. Sage was more reserved, but when Theodore complimented her painting technique, She warmed up enough to show him her art supplies. You have Knox's eyes, Theodore told her seriously, and your great-grandmother's artistic talent. She would have liked you very much. Did she paint pictures too? She did. Beautiful landscapes that hung in our house for 50 years. When Naya joined them in the backyard, the interaction was polite but strained. Theodore was clearly struggling with his long-held prejudices, but he was making an effort for Knox's sake. Ms. Brooks, I understand congratulations are in order for your business success. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Perhaps we could discuss some potential collaborations. Harrington Global is always interested in working with innovative marketing firms. It was an olive branch, and both Knox and Naya recognized it as such. After Theodore left, Knox found Naya in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher. That went better than I expected, she said without looking up. He's trying. It's hard for him to admit he was wrong. Are you okay with him being part of the kids' lives? Knox considered the question. As long as he treats you and them with respect, yes. River and Sage deserve to know their great-grandfather, and maybe he deserves the chance to be better than he was. Naya straightened and turned to face him. You've become very wise, Knox Harrington. I've had a good teacher. Later that evening, after the twins were asleep and the house was quiet, Knox and Naya curled up together on the couch they'd picked out together, their first major purchase as a couple. I love you, Knox said quietly, the words still new enough to make his heart race. I love you too. No regrets? Naya smiled, thinking about their journey from that day in the Rolls-Royce dealership to this moment of perfect contentment. Only one. Knox tensed. What? I regret that we can't go back and do the first time right. But then again, maybe we needed to go through everything we did to appreciate what we have now. Knox tightened his arms around her. Maybe we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Definitely where we're supposed to be. In the distance, they could hear River talking in his sleep, probably dreaming about dinosaurs or race cars or the treehouse Knox had promised to build. Sage's room was quiet, but Knox knew she was surrounded by the art supplies and books that fed her creative spirit. This was what happiness looked like, Knox realized. Not grand gestures or expensive possessions, but quiet moments with the people you love. Bedtime stories and soccer games and family dinners around a table covered in homework and art projects. He'd spent 32 years looking for success in all the wrong places. Now, holding the woman he loved while their children slept safely upstairs, Knox finally understood what true wealth really meant. If this story of second chances touched your heart, please subscribe for more amazing love stories. Share this with someone who believes love can overcome any obstacle, and tell me in the comments, should Naya have told Knox about the twins from the beginning? I read every comment. Sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. Sometimes love requires the patience to grow, the courage to change, and the wisdom to recognize that the most important wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the love of the people who matter most. Knox and Naya had learned that lesson the hard way, but they'd learned it together. And that made all the difference.